Now let's look at the gains and losses of potassium. Gains and losses of potassium is simply you trying to look at what? Sources of potassium. How can you be able to get potassium into your body? This important ion, how can you be able to get it into your body? Then for the losses of potassium, you are basically looking at, okay, if potassium levels are so much, how is potassium being what? Excreted from the body, okay? So these are the gains and losses of potassium. So you can see this, these are foods rich in potassium, but we'll come back to this. Let's look at it. For the gains of potassium, it could be dietary intake, all right? And this is you consuming potassium-rich foods like bananas, like leafy greens, and what? Legumes, all right? Then supplemental intake. This is you taking potassium supplement or potassium containing medications, all right? Then cellular shift. This is when potassium enters the bloodstream from cells in response to things like what? Insulin, in response to things like, I'm coming, in response to things like insulin, epinephrine, and alkalosis. That's basically when the body is at the basic state. All right. Come on, I'm trying to check something. All right. So these are the gains. All right. They're talking about the losses of potassium now. The main one being what? Urinary excretion. Okay. So we said that the kidneys excrete excessive potassium in urine. Okay. And also there could be gastrointestinal loss. I see all this. Okay. So potassium, when dietary potassium is increased, potassium is excreted by the distal tubule. All right. So you could also have the gastrointestinal loss. This is when potassium is lost through things like diarrhea, vomiting, or intestinal fistulas. All right. Then sweat loss. This is when you see that potassium is lost through excessive sweating. All right. Then cellular shift. We said that this is when potassium leaves the bloodstreams and enters the cell. And this is mostly in response to things like glucagon, adrenaline, acidosis. Right? Then medications. When you are taking certain medications like diuretics, laxatives, and beta agonists, this can actually increase potassium losses. All right. Then hormonal imbalance. We say that aldosterone excess or insulin deficiency can lead to a potassium loss. All right. So all these are the various ways of gains and losses of potassium. So most importantly, let's look at the potassium-rich foods. We have proteins like meat, fish, and the rest. Dried fruits, right? Tree fruits, leafy greens, vine fruits, root vegetables, legumes, and dairy product like milk. Okay, so these are the gains and losses of potassium in the body.